This is the diamond sprite, which can be found only in the caves. In order to get it, you would need to dig him out of the diamond or by using the pickaxe, which is definitely not inspired by Minecraft. Okay, it is, but what's so cool about this sprite that makes it special? Can you use it to craft diamond armor and diamond weapons, or maybe even to create a beacon or enchanting table? Well, not really, because this is Fortnite, so that's why you can throw it, and when you're nearby, it would turn you into a diamond that will make you invincible, similar to the Emma Frost boss. By the way, I actually made that music. Anyway, this sprite power would be very funny, especially when you're in a 50-50, because you can't even damage your opponent, since he's also a diamond. But what if you bring the diamond sprite back to its shrine? Well, you would get a diamond boon that would turn you into a diamond automatically when you get below 50 HP, of course. It would last only 5 seconds, so it's not too broken. Speaking of being broken, this is the wood sprite that holds a wooden bat for some reason, and it's definitely not a meme that I've seen on TikTok. Anyway, you could find this sprite in the living forest location because he's literally a tree, but what's his actual power? I mean, it's kinda obvious because when you throw it, he would literally drop you wood materials so you can build. His wooden bat, however, is just here because it looks very wooden and not because it's related to some random TikTok meme. Of course, he would drop you a wood boon when you bring him to the shrine that would give you 50 wood for every single elimination. That's kinda similar to what we actually have right now in the game, although this would make it to the 100, which is a very nice number. By the way, can we maybe reach 100,000 subscribers if you smash that subscribe button before we get to the next sprite? Maybe, but let's just move on with the new Darth Vader sprite. That would be a very nice idea for the upcoming Star Wars season. He would spawn on a Death Star, which you can already kinda see on the map. Don't worry, it will get closer, but what's his power? Well, as you may remember, we already had the Darth Vader boss in Chapter 3 Season 3, which used to force to move nearby stuff. Just check out this clip where I got a free elimination with him. I think you got the point. Darth Vader sprite when thrown would also do that, but only once per use. You see, he would be too broken if he would just throw everyone around the map like he's playing a ping pong. He can also throw you if you interact with him, and whichever way you face, that's where he'll throw you, which is great for movement. I guess he's alone now, but you can still come back to him and maybe bring him to the shrine. Over there, you would get the Darth Vader boon that would literally float in the air when dropped. Anyway, that boon would pull players to you as you shooting them, which won't let them escape, but if you're not careful enough, this could happen. If this happens, you might as well visit the Yoda that teach you Fortnite will, because how noob you are. Speaking of Yoda, we've got the Yoda sprite that will most likely spawn in the Slurpy Swamp. Unfortunately, because we already have the Darth Vader sprite from Star Wars, I will talk more about the Yoda sprite in one of my future videos, so stay tuned on this channel. Anyway, imagine if we can get V-Bucks from the sprite. That sprite would be the V-Buck sprite, but he can't be found anywhere on the map. Huh? You might be asking, where can we find this sprite if it's not on the island? Well, you see, V-Bucks are currency that are being used in the item shop and not in the middle of the game, so that's why he's gonna spawn over there. You might see him on the edges peeking at you like he's playing hide and seek, but can you actually throw him like the normal sprites? Of course, but you would actually need to tap on him and slide him up, which will activate his power. As you may assume, he would give you lots of V-Bucks, but this is just an idea, so don't take it too serious. Let's not forget that you can actually transfer him into the game by putting him onto the Battle Royale mode. That means that you would join in with the V-Buck sprite in your hands that you can actually bring to the shrine. When you bring him, the shrine would give you the V-Bucks boon that would grant you 50 V-Bucks for every single elimination you make throughout that game.
Yes, sir.
That sprite, however, would disappear once when used, so no one else can get those free V-Bucks. But let's move back to the normal sprites that you could actually find in your Fortnite games. This is the Brutus sprite, and as you can already tell, this is the sprite version of a Brutus boss. Like the boss, the Brutus sprite can be found in the grotto location, which is a spaghetti grotto, but without a spaghetti and M&M. Anyway, what would happen if you throw this sprite? Some people think that it would just use Brutus minigun to destroy all nearby players, but that's not entirely true. I mean, why would he shoot? He's just a chill guy with sunglasses, so that's why he's gonna give that minigun to you so you can eliminate those players yourself. You might be wondering, what's the point of carrying this sprite if he doesn't do anything? Well, the answer to that question is pretty simple. He would warn you about all nearby players that are sneaking to you by saying something like this. Right here! Okay, that might not be that useful, but what if you bring him to the shrine? Of course it would give you a Brutus boon because the sprite is literally Brutus, but what would this boon actually do? As you may remember, the Brutus boss loves to use minigun, which requires the light ammo, so that's why you would have infinite ammo on all weapons that uses that type of bullets, weapons like SMG, pistol, and even a Brutus minigun itself. That thing is overpowered anyway, but let's move to our next sprite, which is the Slap Jug sprite. This sprite is literally a slap jug exotic, but he can't can't actually be bought because he's just a sprite. You can find him though around the Slap Company locations which are producing and selling slap juices all the way back in Chapter 4 Season 1. Apart from other sprites, this sprite can't be thrown because I'm not even sure what would he do since he's just a slap jug, so that's why you can actually drink him. Don't worry if you drink everything from it because he would go back to the slap locations to refill. But even if he's empty or full, you can still bring him back to the shrine, which would give you the slap jug boon. That boon will just grant you the slap effect for 10 seconds after drinking something like the shield potion so you can rotate faster. This is a Fletcher Kane boss, but if he somehow turned into a sprite he would look something like this. Because he's a sprite and not a wolf, it wouldn't make sense for his location to be a lone wolf lair, so I changed its name into the Lone Sprite Lair, which is gonna be available for all lonely sprites to gather. You might be thinking, what will happen if you throw him? Well, he would use a baseball bat called the kneecapper like the actual Fletcher Kane boss, and whoever comes close to him will be punched with it like a flippin' baseball. If you want to bring him to the shrine, however, you would get the Fletcher Kane Sprite boon that will increase your speed when sprinting just like the Unstoppable medallion. Of course, to not make it too powerful, it would increase your speed when sprinting only for 10 seconds after dealing damage to enemy players.
Yes, sir.
This is the Sabrina Carpenter Sprite, which is working late because she's a singer. You probably think it would sing Espresso Macchiato when thrown, but that's actually not true. You see, this sprite will actually heal you like a water sprite, except it would spill the coffee on you, which will grant you an espresso effect. With the espresso effect you would be a lot quicker, similar like with the spicy effect, but how are you even gonna get the Sabrina Carpenter Sprite in the first place? Well, she would spawn in Espresso Estate location, which if you remember, I mentioned in the Sabrina Carpenter boss video, so make sure to watch it after this one.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, like water and air sprites, Sabrina Carpenter Sprite can also be returned to the shrine, which would give you the Sabrina Carpenter's boon. That boon is actually pretty useful because it would heal you when doing her emotes. Please use code TAXISHARK in the item shop, I guess so, but first, let me know in the comments how would you rate the Sabrina Carpenter Sprite from 1 to 10. This is a Shogun X boss, but if he somehow turned into a sprite he would look something like this. This sprite would also spawn on top of the floating island during the game, but it would be kinda hard to pick up. You see, he would use a Fire Oni mask to throw fire on all opponents that comes close to you, exactly like the Shogun X boss. To pick him up you would also need a Fire Oni mask so he knows that you're in the same team, because he doesn't trust anyone without a mask, which is quite ironic since you literally have to cover your whole face. But now the most important part. What happens if you throw him? He wouldn't heal you or launch into the air, because he would literally pull out the katana and will shing all nearby opponents. That would be quite useful if you throw it at the enemy's box so he completely exposes him while you can 200 pump him into the face. But what if you bring him to the shrine? Well, you would get a Shogun X Sprite boon that would make you invisible when sprinting like the Shogun X medallion, but without the infinite stamina, so it's not too powerful. Comment down below what sprite would you like to see next, and make sure to check out my other videos on this channel like this one.